Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to have you join us this afternoon. I am Pamela Moore. I am the founder of Fashion Inspirations Incorporated. And I want to just say thank you for joining us. We're so excited about this panel discussion this evening. And you're going to hear from a group of panelists who have firsthand experience of either being a cancer patient or survivor, and the caregivers, family members, friends of those survivors. We thank you for joining us. Please go ahead and share this broadcast. We want to reach as many people as we possibly can because we believe that this is a very important topic and we want to reach everybody that we possibly can. Now, I am officially the host of this program, but tonight you are going to hear from our moderator more than you'll hear from me, and her name is Sequoia Howard. She is my daughter, and she will be moderating this evening's panel discussion, and she will introduce our panelists to you, and we're going to get started. And hey, don't you sign off because you'll miss a great treat from our guest artist, Ms. Renee Pullum, who's going to inspire us with an awesome song this evening. So Sequoia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hey, we are extremely excited to have this conversation. As if you've caught any of the posts from my mom, this is a very, very important, extremely important conversation. Tonight's topic is the breast cancer journey, a family affair. On tonight's panel, we have people from all walks of the spectrum on the journey. We have survivors on here. We have the children of survivors. We have caregivers. We got a bunch on here. So we're going to have a great conversation. And I want to go ahead and get some introductions going so that we can get this discussion going. So Mom, if you can pull everybody on the screen so I can see who we got. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to go in the order that you're on here. We have my pastor, Renee, and Alan Pullum. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick.
Hello, we're Renee and Alan Pullum. We're pastors, worship pastors at Hope and Life Fellowship, and it's indeed a pleasure to be on this broadcast this evening. And we're just excited.
Yeah, and we are definitely excited and expectant of just so much great encouragement from all the panelists, and so we look forward to just deep diving into our discussions tonight. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
All right, and you are a cancer survivor, correct?
I am. Yes, I am a cancer survivor, breast cancer, and you'll hear my story as we get into it. But yes, I am.
Woo, woo. Let's go, survivors on deck. Good job. All right. My cousin to the right, Jonathan Jones. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan Jones. I guess my background is in supply chain. I was recently working for Louis Vuitton up in New York within their supply chain. Recent events happening with the family that I'll talk about. I came back home to support my mom, who's who I like to call my cancer conqueror, on her second time going through cancer. I'm an entrepreneur, putting on events out west in Las Vegas. And I also have a nonprofit called Just One Day, where we seek to attack homelessness through mental health reform. And I look forward to the conversation and also learning more about what I can do to support my mom in her journey.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you on here, cousin. All right, Z later, Miss Barnes. How you doing? Please introduce yourself and where you are and a part of this journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Z Leader Barnes, and I am the mother of Zelly Barnes, who is a cancer patient survivor. I am, or I was, and still am a cancer caregiver to my child. I thank God that He enabled me to be there for her, to encourage her, to hold her hand when it was needed, and to just pray for God's healing. I do bring you greetings from Biloxi, Mississippi, and I came to Tallahassee to be with her a number of times, and her journey was successful thanks to the greatness and the goodness of the Lord. So I am excited to be a part of this panelist today to tell you the part of the role of a mother whose child is facing cancer.
All right. We are so glad to have you on with us. Thank you. And I'm going to come on over to Zelly since Ms. Z Leader has already kind of introduced her. But can you please, Zelly, please introduce yourself real quick?
Good evening, everyone. I don't think I need to say anything because she pretty much said everything. But I am Zoe Barnes, two-time breast cancer survivor, the first time 2015 and recently 2020. So I'm still on this journey. I receive treatments every month, and we're waiting for my reconstructive surgery. I'm glad to be here. Every chance I get to share my story, to encourage men and women to make sure they're, taking care of self physically and mentally. I always ask God to use me. So thank you, Miss Pamela Moore, for always thinking about me and asking me to come on and to inspire someone else about my journey and what God has done for me.
Yes. So glad to have you on here, you and your mom. That is cool that you both are on here. And then Miss Lauren Walker, please tell us who you are.
Sure. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a therapist at Lee's Place. And we work a lot with both cancer survivors and caregivers who have experienced all the trauma that goes with this diagnosis. In my own personal journey, I have my husband's side of the family has many cancer survivors. His mother is a 2-time cancer survivor. She's now cancer-free after her second bout a year ago. Her first bout was 45 years ago. May Walker, who has done a lot in this community to help change and improve how diagnosis and treatment is available for people. And his sister is also a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And his first wife, unfortunately, succumbed to cancer probably 20 years ago. So unfortunately, I've experienced the downside of cancer as well as the wonderful survivorship of cancer. And I'm thrilled that I get to experience, along with those who are fighting this, to provide support and guidance along with them. I worked with the Tallahassee Memorial Cancer Center as well, with many family members and survivors and those undergoing treatment. So awesome. I'm glad to be part of this.
We look forward to hearing your insight and your perspective this evening. Thank you so much, Lauren. Next, I have on the screen my sister, Devin Moore, looking like my twin, actually.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Devin Moore. I have the distinct pleasure of being able to call Pamela Moore my mom. And I'm currently a PhD student at Florida State University pursuing a doctorate degree in music education. And I too am looking forward to the discussion, sharing some things that I probably have been holding on to. And I hope that this helps whoever's watching and also the people on the call.
Thank you, Devin. And then we have my aunt on here, Gail Green. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Gail Green, and I have the pleasure of serving Tallahassee Memorial for over 30 years as a registered nurse, graduating from the Florida A&M University in 1976 with a BS in nursing. I have also had the chance to go through, as the other lady said, my mother had cancer, and she unfortunately did succumb, but that was in 88. And I'm so glad that now a lot of the modalities that we have and the growth that we've made in care has made things much more viable for people. So I'm very glad to be here today and to share my wealth of knowledge and my input.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And last but certainly not least, you've heard from her already, but Miss Pamela Moore, the CEO of Fashion Inspirations, please go ahead and introduce yourself. You're on mute.
Hi. I am Pamela Moore, and I am a 3-year breast cancer survivor. And as a result of my experience or my journey, it became a passion of mine to really share with other individuals, both men and women, that may be going through this journey or have gone through or have family members or whatever, to just share some of the nuggets of wisdom and some of the experiences that I had. And hopefully we can add some encouragement, some hope, and for them to know that life does go on even after a cancer diagnosis. And the other message that I want to share every day is early detection is key. Those are the messages that I want to portray. So thank you for joining us once again.
All right. So as you all can see, everybody that is tapped into this conversation, we have everyone covering the spectrum from caregiver to parent to survivor and still conquering, and to Miss Lauren, who is a therapist and helps people overcome the trauma, to a registered nurse. We got everybody on this panel. It's a great panel. Extremely excited about this conversation. So I want to kick it off with this first question, for specifically for the children of the survivors or those that are still going through. How did you initially respond when you got the news that your parent had cancer? And I'll start with you, Jonathan.
Yeah, so if I can, I'll explain the first time and the second time. So the first time I was a sophomore at Florida A&M University, and for me being in Tallahassee, my mom being here in Orlando, it was you hear about cancer all the time, but it's different when it hits home. And this time it hit home, and it hit home to one of my best friends, best supporters, and my mom. It really, I was extremely scared because I didn't know a lot. I didn't know what to do or how to support. I went on Google, looking up everything that I could to just see, what happens with breast cancer, everything that I could know. But I did find a little bit of comfort knowing that at the time my father and my little brother were here in Orlando with her. Fast forward to now, my mom's second tenure conquering cancer, and my father passed away at the same day that we found out that my mom would have to do chemotherapy. So it was a very, very difficult day in and of itself. I didn't know what to think or what to believe at that time. But I knew that I needed to be the support system for her throughout that time. So I was living in New York. I moved back to Orlando to be here with my mother, and as my brother went off to school at Florida A&M as well. And this time I've been a support system, as I said, here when when times get difficult for her. To make sure that she understands and that she knows, one, that she is still beautiful, that I'm always going to be here, that my father is always going to be here. And God has taken us through this journey for a reason. And we have to be mindful of that and make sure that we are here to share that story and express that story going forward. That's what my father would want. And that's what I'm here to do. So.
Wow. Incredible amount of strength you have over there, Jonathan. I commend you. Devin, tell us about what your reaction was like.
So I'll never forget that day. I literally just got off a plane from Indianapolis. I just come back from watching a good friend of mine do this really big performance. And I walked in the door, put my stuff down, and my mom said, "I have cancer." And she said it with the straightest face. And in that moment, you don't know what to do with that information. Because what do you say to that? And so I'm looking at her to get a read on how I should respond, and knowing that she had she told me later that she had been sitting with that information for at least a day, because I was out of town and my father was out of town, and I'm like, you didn't want to tell anybody. And so um it might have been a little selfish, but I was really looking to her to how to respond, and the way she responded, there was this piece of strength, that there was not piece of strength, there was like a massive amount of strength that just turned on in her through that, from that day forward. And I think we were able to draw in those first couple of days, because she never went into panic mode. We were able to kind of feed off of her strength, in her taking that news. But my initial reaction was, okay, I know this information now. What do I do with it? I didn't go into research mode. I was just like, okay, what do we do? What's the next step? Where can I put my hand in? And she was a trooper through that whole process. It didn't, yeah. I'm incredibly proud that she was able to turn that on in that moment.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So we also have a parent on here that had to hear that information from her daughter, Miss Z Leader. Can you tell us what your response was like when Zelly had to come and tell you about her diagnosis, the first and the second time?
The first time she had taken the mammogram, and they called her back for a repeat. And so, of course, she called me, Mama, I got to go back and repeat my mammogram. Well, I've had to repeat mammogram, so I dismissed it and said, oh, they just saw something and they want to make sure that it's clear. Well, then she came back and said, well, Mama, now they want to do a biopsy. So my antenna went up with the biopsy, but I still encouraged her and said, oh, they just want to make sure that it's nothing there. And then the third time she came back and she said, Mama, it's cancer. And so at that point, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I never expected her to tell me that it was cancer. But previously, my nephew had been diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't breast cancer, but my sister and I had shared a journey with him. And the first thing she said to me, my sister, was that God has spoken to her and said, do not be afraid. It is I. And that's what I heard in my spirit. Do not be afraid. It is I. And I said to Zelly, and if she'll remember, God's got this. And even if he doesn't heal you, we know that he can. And from that point on, I began to encourage her to know that God had all power in his hand and that he was going to heal her. The second time she was diagnosed, which was last year, this year, she called me and said that she had found a lump in her breast and that they were going to do the biopsy. But it took so long for them to diagnose. I said to her, and I still believe deep down in my heart that it really was not cancer, but that they were cautioning on the side of right because they did not want it to come back to be that. But she made the decision. I prayed with her and encouraged her, and she made the decision to do the double mastectomy. And we're still expecting God to do the healing because he has assured us, don't be afraid. It is I. And that's where we stand.
Yes, come on, pass the collection plate because Mother Barnes went on and took us in over here. It is I.
It
Yes,
is
She
I.
did.
Don't be afraid.
yes. Do not be afraid. And I'm gonna come to the cancer survivors and the cancer conquerors in just a moment. I want to bring Lauren in a little bit on the conversation. When you hear, because help me understand, do you work with those who have the diagnosis and their family members, or just you work with both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you do? What are some of the things that you say to help with that initial information?
Well, the power of faith, we always ask about that because we know that that is probably one of the most powerful tools in helping a patient and their family members get through this process. Because once they get that news, it's like the earth has now split, and there's a before cancer and an after cancer, and it'll never be the same for them. And so the fact that they have a faith as part of their ability to answer questions, find meaning, find purpose, and see beyond the diagnosis is a huge, powerful tool. So we always invite them to really tap into that faith and to surround themselves with people who share that belief, because we know just how powerful it is. We also work with the cancer survivors or the cancer, those who have been diagnosed, to begin to help them to accept the diagnosis. And I know that may sound like, why would I want to accept this horrible news as my reality? But in many cases, beginning to accept that this is where I am right this moment, and not spending your energy in fighting that, is where you can begin to gain more strength and power and put it in the places where you need it most. Instead of asking why me, or this isn't really happening to me, or I don't want this, beginning to just accept that this is my reality right now. And where do I want to put my energy so that it can be most useful for the outcome that I really do desire and I know I can achieve? What we do know is the mind and the body move toward healing when they're given the opportunity to do that. And we really encourage our clients to tap into that internal strength and to let go of the things that they don't have control over anymore, like the fact that they've now been diagnosed, and to put their energy into the ways that they can, like finding out as much information about their diagnosis, their treatment options, surrounding themselves with people who do believe the same things they do and can give them the kind of support that is beneficial for them. And it sounds like this is what many of the panel members have been experiencing every day through their journeys. And it's wonderful to hear that.
Yeah, that is great. I love, I don't think I've heard anybody put it that way, that the mind and the body move toward healing when given an opportunity.
Right.
I absolutely love that. Aunt Gail, I want to hear from you really quickly about what was your initial response? Because I know you said in your intro that your mom had cancer as well.
Right. Well, that day, when I found out, I was just getting ready to walk out of the door to go to work at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. And the phone rang. That was before cell phone, so really, the phone rang. So I had to go back to pick up the phone, and she was just sort of like what Devin experienced, you know. She said hello in this real demure voice, and she said, "I just wanted you to know that I have." She didn't even say the can on the cancer. She just said cancer. She kind of slid over it. I'm getting ready to go to work. And she tells me this. And she says also, and I just want to go ahead on and die. I mean, what you do? What did you do with that? She had it all. She had us all ready to the funeral and to the grave. I mean, it was just, and then she hung up on me. So it was a very, very difficult day at work because you have to still be there for patients. And I'm an only child. So it wasn't like I could call anybody, sisters, brothers, get anything from anybody. It was such a monumental day for me. And I guess, just Devin talking about that brought that memory back. We tend to press things down, and we're functional in our, we're functional with things that disarm us sometime. And you brought that back for me, Devin, how devastating that day was for me. But I had to be strong for the patients that I was still had to go see.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm gonna come to you, Zelly, and Pastor Renee and Mommy, because I want to. We heard from kids of survivors and those who were conquerors. We heard from parents. We heard from therapists. But I want to hear from you all. What is the balance of, I think Devin mentioned it in seeing it in my mom, an inner strength versus the strength that you drew/draw from others to find that meaning and that purpose that Lauren mentioned a moment ago, to continue to progress, and to not just to give up off of the diagnosis. And I'll come to you first, Pastor Renee, and then Zelly, and then Mommy.
Okay. Um, wow. To find the strength. That that came in, I would say, chapters for me. Um, the initial day that I was told that I had cancer, I literally did not even believe the doctor, and I was just, I think I was just stunned for a minute, because my aunt at the time was going through it, and so we had been just being warriors for her, and just supporting her. And so just to go to the doctor and to be told that after tests and so forth that I had breast cancer, I think my mind just shifted, and I was like, no. Then I said, show me where you see that on your paperwork. I mean, I literally said, let me see the paperwork. Let me show me. And she literally brought the paperwork and said, see right here. And I think that's when it hit me. And so I remember leaving there, sitting in my car in the parking lot, and just numb. Actually, you just numb from hearing that news. And I remember calling my husband Alan and telling him, and we talked about it. But it was not until he got home. When I got home, I immediately went to my bedroom and I just started Googling everything. But when he got home, he came straight in, came upstairs in the bedroom, and came over to me. I was at my desk, and immediately, and looking back on that, I really think God just told him where I was mentally. But he came over to me and he immediately put his hands on me, my shoulders, and began to pray and began to speak like life into me. And we're gonna get through this. And it's like it just built my faith back. It just, because you just don't expect to hear that. And he took on such a warrior mentality that my faith just began to just increase and increase. And I never forget, one of the main things he said at the end of the prayer was, the devil messed with the wrong family. He messed with the wrong family, and he just began to declare over me, what you will do, you will live, and you're going to preach to everything and everybody, even the squirrels in the backyard, and literally he said that even the squirrels in the backyard, you're going to preach and to them and just tell about the goodness of God. So the strength came just like maybe 2 hours later, because you just drain. It's like everything drains out of you. Like, what? I'm just like fighting for my auntie in prayer, and then you're told the same thing. And so yeah, so for me, it was like once he just began to declare over me, and it's like we went into fight mode, warrior mode from that day on.
Wow. Before I get to you, Zelly, I do want to bring Lauren in just a little bit, because she mentioned that as soon as she got the diagnosis, she went home and started Googling. Can you just give us maybe the top three things? Not that we can tell anyone how they should feel after getting a diagnosis, but what are some of the top three things that that someone should do after receiving that type of diagnosis? And you can give us from the person receiving as well as from caregiver or children, spouse. What are some things that
Well,
we should
again, I'm looking at this from a mental health perspective as opposed to a medical perspective. So I don't want to ever give the impression that, I can tell you how to treat your cancer better, because that's not my goal and that's not my purpose. But from a mental health perspective, getting as much information from reliable sources as you can is probably the best way to get some kind of control. And the power of feeling like I have a say in this is one of the most reassuring parts of any kind of diagnosis that is life-changing. And so getting that from a reliable source, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Google, but getting a second opinion, getting a third opinion, talking to other folks that may have had a similar diagnosis, and beginning to gather almost a notebook of information that you can refer back to and that you can continue to add to. So I think it's wonderful that the Reverend was able to begin her own source of information, because that does give you a sense of power. And that's what we want anybody who has a diagnosis to know, that they do have a say in this. This is not a done deal. Every physical body is so unique that you get to decide what your journey is going to look like, what it's going to feel like, and what the outcome is going to be. The second thing is, again, to begin to look ahead, to see that there is hope, because hope is one of the most, again, powerful sources that we have as human beings, that we don't just have to say, well, okay, this is the end of my life as I know it. It can be a different kind of life for you. And finding that hope and purpose may be very difficult at first. It's not one of the first things that happens, but it is a very important part of getting a diagnosis that's life-changing. And then probably the third one is to be okay with expressing anger and having feelings of discrepancy about this. Nobody wants to say, I'm so excited I got this diagnosis. Thank you so much. And so a lot of us are afraid to say, this really makes me mad. I don't want this now. This is not what I had planned. And being able to acknowledge our emotions to people or someone in our life who can accept it and not tell us, don't say that, or you shouldn't feel that way. It might be a family member, like a supportive spouse. It might be a friend, or it might have to be a therapist. But having that outlet, that safe place to say, I have these really uncomfortable feelings, emotions about this diagnosis. And, this is not good news for me. It's okay to have distressing, upsetting emotions. You're going to have them the whole time in the journey. And being able to not just be the positive, happy-go-lucky, I've got this person through the journey, and knowing you can be honest about it is really, really important.
Wow. So for those of you that just hopped in, she was just giving us three key ways that we can that us or our spouses, our friends, whoever may be going through this, can deal with this initial shock. First one, reliable sources. We're not fans of Dr. Google. We said that. I'm not either. Yeah, I remember we had to tell my mama a lot of times, get off of Google. But also looking ahead, having hope, having faith. And then I'm gonna Sequoia phrase what you just said for that third one: being okay with feeling what you feel.
Yes.
Feel what you feel and be all right with that. Thank you so much for that. Aunt Gail, I wanna bring you in just before I reset the room, and then I'm coming back to Zeli and then Mommy on that initial question. Gail, from a medical perspective, because I know that you were one of my mom's reliable sources when she initially received her diagnosis. Can you talk to us just a bit about that initial, from a medical perspective, how one can deal with and address that?
Well, you mean how one could say that again?
From
Something happened.
that initial diagnosis, what are some things that that you would say from a medical standpoint that someone should do?
Well, one thing that we have to remember is the patient has a lot of power. And no matter what I may think, their belief system can circumvent all of that. So with Pam, me knowing her for over 40 years, let's say, I already knew what her belief system was. So when she told me about it, I didn't really give a lot of input at first because I knew the news was so new to her. I let her sort of just do the talking, you know. And after 3 days, so the third day, I got back in touch with her. And I said, I just wanted to give you a little bit of time to be with that news. But now I need you to voice to me what your stance is. Because in the hospital, in the medical field, you can't always, sort of like school, you can't always bring your Bible out. You have to find creative ways to do that, you know. And but if your presence shows that, 9 times out of 10, when people get devastating news, they're looking for God, the true God. Like when that plane's going down, ain't nobody talking about Buddha, you know. So they're looking for this reason, something to hold on to, because most people's faith has been shaken, even seasoned saints. So I wanted to really, really have her to state her core values. Because I told her, I said, Pam, what about your faith in God has changed since you got this news? What about God has changed? Nothing. And just like Pastor said, he picked on the wrong family. So I knew we had a solidified foundation from which to build our fight from. And we fought this whole fight from a point of victory. Done deal. Through the word of God, done deal. And so we had our ups and downs. Pam was a bit of a Googler. And I had to reprimand her a few times. I was assistant nurse manager of the IV team, and we do that vascular access for about an 800-bed teaching hospital here in Tallahassee, and like I said, out 31 years, and I also did teaching on campuses and all with vascular access. So I had been with her when we put in her PICC line and took her through each step, and was at the hospital and giving her all sort, you know. But those of you who know Pam know she real cute. Pam had to get coordinating covers for her IV PICC line. They matched everything she had on. The gauze we put on, she had to cover that so she could be cute with the and gave it a name, Ivy. So when time came to take it out, the steps were kind of, long for putting it in, but when time came to, I said, Pam, that's going to be a really, really easy situation. It's going to take probably about 5 minutes. But Miss Google went on and got text me this little frantic. This looked like it's going to be real involved, and I was like, it's only going to be a few minutes. We're going to just take the biggest thing is taking off the tape that's there. Oh no. And so she finally broke down. She said, no. I said, send me what you saw. She began to download to me a syllabus of stuff.
So,
That's a student syllabus.
Yeah. So again, reliable sources of information.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
She had got a student syllabus that showed they teach you how to pull off tape when you're a student. So we had it was about 30 steps.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So I want to go back to Zeli and Mommy and give you an opportunity to talk. Just for those that have just come in, this panel discussion is named The Breast Cancer Journey, a Family Affair. We have a bunch of people that are covering the spectrum of the breast cancer journey, those that are survivors, those that are still conquering, those that have been caregivers, children, and as well as parents of those that have survived and are still conquering, as well as mental health therapist, specialist. I'm sorry, Lauren, please forgive me if I am giving you the wrong titles, but you're a superhero, basically. So, but I want to get back to Zelly. I asked the question about that balance between drawing an inner strength, which we've heard that inner strength being named faith as well as hope. That balance of inner strength versus the strength that you had to draw from others, and that you're still having to draw from others to continue finding that purpose and that meaning and enough to keep going each day. Talk to us a little bit about that, please.
Well, I didn't Google, so Miss Pam, you by yourself. But the initial diagnosis, the first time, I was in shock, to say the least. I guess I kind of knew because after we did the biopsy, the doctor told me at the Women's Center she was concerned about how the cells look. And that's the day that I truly showed that, okay, I'm a fighter. I'm not ready to die. I'm young. And I'm just not ready to go. So she was telling me, that she was really concerned about how the cells look. And my response was, I know a man that sits high and he looks low.
Right.
And so I left there, feeling a little nervous, shared with my mom, what she said. And Mama said she didn't care how the cells looked. We knew God and he was going to see us through. And that was on a Friday. And by that Tuesday, my doctor called to say that it was indeed cancer. Just like the other panelists said, at first, I didn't want to believe it. I felt like I was dreaming. I was hearing them, but then I wasn't hearing them. And, of course, had to share it with my mom and my dad and my siblings and my close friends that it's cancer. Of course, the first thing is, Lord, am I going to die? Why me? And my mom did a lot of, praying, we had this, God got this. And, even if he doesn't, we know that he can heal you. I drew a lot of strength from her. I drew a lot of strength from my aunt in Texas. With her going through with her son who had cancer just years before me. And then me just knowing God. And I'm always in the church. I know the word. And I've been through some other things in my short lifespan that I knew that no matter what, God had me. Just knowing the word and just really studying his word. The second time, I was in shock again because every doctor who looked at those reports from the Women's Center, from the mammogram, said it was a cyst. Matter of fact, my chemo-oncologist really just wanted to watch it grow. But it was me who says, no, I don't want to watch it grow, that I got in touch with Dr. Blank, and she agreed to remove the cyst. And she sent it to the pathologist to get it tested. And so it was nobody but God who loves me so much that he was like, nope, we're not going to watch it grow. Go ahead and get it out and put it in my spirit to go ahead and remove it. That I know that he has a plan and a purpose for me and that I'm not going anywhere just yet.
Yeah.
So knowing that he has me, and that was the second time he showed me that something wasn't right with my body, that he says, okay, I really need you to do what I need you to do, that I'm here. And so with that, I'm here today to say that he's not done with me yet. I still have some more of my journey that he has for me to complete. So it's just knowing God that I drew the faith and knowing him that he had me.
Absolutely. And we are all continuing to believe with you and standing with you and celebrating you as you continue going through this journey with that level of strength and faith and courage. Thank you so much, Zelly. Mommy, I want to tap in with you really quickly. Talk to us a bit about how where you drew your strength from to continue progressing and to do what you're doing now. This is so dope and amazing.
Um, my strength, my initial strength, had to be just God, because anybody that knows me know that I can go all the way down the road real quick and be like, ugh. But when that diagnosis came to me, it didn't shake me at all. It was so weird. And my doctor even said, "Did you expect me to say this to you?" And I said, "Absolutely not." She said, "But you're so calm." I said, "I know, right?" Like, where is this? But I knew it was God. It had to be. And the other thing, Devin mentioned that I told her, she was the first, one in my family that I told, because they were all out of town. And um, she looked at me like she said, and she's like, "Mom, you're so calm, you scare me." I'm like, my statement kept being, "I know, right?" But the thing that I thought about was, I'm not about to leave my girls. This ain't happening to me. No, sir. Mm-mm. And that was a thought, and I don't even know if I ever expressed that to them. That it was the thought of leaving them that made me make up in my mind, "Oh, you gonna win this. You gonna win this," because I'm not leaving them. Because I knew it would be devastating, not only to them, to my husband and my other family members and friends, but they were the initial thought that came to me, and it just became it was a decision. And like I always, my first year anniversary that I celebrated, my first year cancer-free anniversary, I told my girls I wanted to have a party on my day of diagnosis. And they were like, "Mom, why would you want to have a party for your diagnosis?" I said, "Because the day that I was diagnosed with breast cancer was the day that a warrior stood up in me that I never knew that I had the ability to be. And so I'm celebrating that warrior." So yeah, that's my story.
Wow. That's your story. You sticking to it. I love it.
I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, yeah. This is such an incredible conversation. Jonathan, I want to come back to you. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you are doing on like a regular basis right now, even as your mom is continuing to conquer cancer. What are some things that you're doing for her to help her to continue progressing?
Um, One of the things that I definitely am doing, and I thought about this when Miss Gail was speaking, was being my mom's fighter. So it's a lot of times where it'll be a tough day, as everybody knows. There can be tough days that come about, and for me, it's not ever allowing it to the words that come out of your mouth, they create life or death, right? And it's for me making sure I'm like, "No, Mom, if she's saying, this is really affecting me today," when I'm like, "Well, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get past it. This is just temporary. This is not gonna last." It's that that side is has been a very vital piece to making sure that when there are down days, being there for her. Another thing that has happened with as a result of my father passing, my role has shifted. So I whereas at one point I'm the son, and I'm basically, "Hey, Mom, whatever you need, I can do that for you." I think now it's thinking about the things that she doesn't say and still doing these things for her. Um, for an example, my father's and my mother's anniversary was September 29th. It was doing what I could, getting some flowers, like, "Let's go to dinner, let's do this, let's do that," because I know it's a tough time. And it's just really kind of reading the things that I can and making a move without her asking. My mom is so strong, that a lot of times she doesn't ask for help because she's used to going through it and getting through it. And I think that, as cousin Pam said, she's protecting her boys. She's protecting us because she's like, if they see me worried or wavered, then it'll waver them. So for me, it's like, look, you can present that to me. We're here. I'm here for you. You know, I'm a safe space that you can express anything that you feel and anything that you want to say to me or out loud. And then whenever she's not saying it, making sure that I'm still looking to do it. And she was really big on telling me. I remember this distinctly. My mom was like, "Don't." I was still living in New York. Don't come back to Orlando. Don't come back home. Stay. You know, I was interviewing for a couple more positions up there. No, I want you to. And I said, Mom. I said, I do not care what you're saying right now. I'm coming home and I'm coming back to support you. The career will work out, the job will work out, it'll work out. But if I'm not here with you supporting you, I'm not gonna feel right. And just being that for her, and you know, sometimes whenever she says something, I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway because I
Yeah.
just know it'll help. It'll help even a little bit. You know, it'll do something.
Wow, you said something extremely key, and I think it was put up on the screen. But just having the foresight, being able to think ahead, and being sensitive to the things that they aren't saying. Because I know if your mama is anything like my mama, then you know sometimes you got to pull stuff out of them about
Absolutely,
what they need. You know,
absolutely.
that's incredible. And I want to bring my sister who has popped in on this particular question. Hey, Mickey, please introduce yourself, but also I want you to talk about what are some things that you had to do with mommy to help her to progress because y'all had a special kind of bond and way of doing things. So introduce yourself first, though, and then answer.
Hey y'all, I'm Micaiah Warren, daughter of Pamela Moore. Um, definitely served not necessarily as a caregiver, in some sort as a caregiver, but um, throughout my mom's journey, I think because I have walked through several health challenges with sickle cell and you know other challenges with alopecia, losing my hair, so we had a special connection. I was kind of connected to her in that way. And so I understood and was able to, feel what she would go through before it really hit her because I walked through it before or something similar, not necessarily breast cancer, but, and I tell this story all the time and I share it, my mom and I have shared this story several times is, my mom was there for me when I was going through, alopecia and having to build my self-esteem and planted seeds inside of me. And now it was time for me to water her seed, and put that seed back inside of her. And we nurtured each other. I helped, help her through, picking out that wig and being comfortable with the hair loss and things of that nature. But I'm gonna piggyback on what Jonathan was saying. When you have somebody that is as strong-willed and strong in their faith, you kind of have to anticipate the need. And I knew that the diagnosis had rocked my mother. I knew that it did. It didn't rock her faith, but I knew deep down inside that it was something that was traumatic to her person. We're humans, and faith definitely supersedes that. But as a person, I knew that was something that it was going to be hard for her to deal with. So I understood that from the standpoint of having to walk through a faith journey and similar to hers. Um, so it was important for me to like Jonathan said, anticipate what she would need, the encouraging words, the support, the inspiration, helping her, encouraging her in her faith when it when the moments were low, in those low moments. So all of that is definitely important, and we were connected in that type of way.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you so much for sharing, Mickey. I want to come back to our cancer conquerors to ask to pull from the experiences that Jonathan and Micaiah just talked about. But give me your top one. I'll give you maybe one to two. Your top two things that you did not say that were definitely needed though, that you didn't say, because I want for those that are on right now that are listening who are caregivers right now and may not know how to think ahead or know, some of the things that they really need to make sure they're looking for to help during this time. What are your top two things that you may not have said, but you knew that it was needed, whether it be tangible or something spiritual, what have you? And I'm going to come to you first, Mommy. Then I'm going to go to Zilly and then Pastor Renee.
I want to make sure I'm answering the question correctly. What did I not say that I should have said?
Yeah, what did you not say that you should have said that you needed?
I need you.
Okay.
I need your support physically, mentally, spiritually. I need a hug. I need you to be there. I need you.
Thank you. Zelly, what's something that you need that you may not have said aloud?
Piggyback on what Miss Moore said, that I needed my mom. And it did get to the point that I did tell her, I need you. And she came because chemo got rough in the end. That's all I wanted was my mom. And I wanted to go home. And so she took me home to Biloxi. And I began my healing process from chemo. But definitely just needed someone, not so much just for them to say anything, just to listen. Because sometimes we just don't want to hear what they have to say. Just hear me out. Let me get what I need to say off my chest. Because it was a lot of things that was told to me during this journey that, I would never be able to bear children. I just wanted somebody to listen and hear what I had to say. So, yeah.
Wow. And you, Pastor Renee?
I would say what Zeli just said. I had a great husband who was there. My kids was there, and I'm about to get emotional. So let me roll these tears back because I will not get through that song. But this may sound a little weird, everyone. So just bear with me. I made the decision not, along with my siblings, my two sisters, not to tell my mom. And the reason was because, I mentioned earlier about my mother, I'm sorry, my aunt, who is my mother's sister, was going through breast cancer. And this was like her third bout with it. And my mom was so close to her. And my aunt was actually like dying from it. And then so it was something else happened. We had another like devastating thing going on and with the family and another loss and another loss. And it was like, we just felt like it was going to be too much. This could potentially like take her out. And so in my mind, I'm thinking that I protected her. I'm protecting my mom. We were going to eventually tell her, but we wanted to get past all of the stuff first and then come and break it to her. And I think that looking back, I needed my mom. My mom just passed in July. Oh my God. My mom just passed in July. So, but when we did tell her, of course, she was mad with me. She was so angry. But in my heart, I was looking out for her, just looking out, honestly, just trying to protect her because I was like, if she get one more bad news, this could potentially take her out, because she already had some health issues. And so I think just looking back, that's my one regret is that I didn't pull her in. And as Zali is sharing how her mother was there, my mom would have been the same way. She would have been there no matter what. But I just wanted to protect her, and she forgave me because it's been 12 years. She forgave me, but looking back, I would say, just like Sequoia said, when she said her mom name, she said mommy. That's me. I needed my mommy back then, but I was trying to be a big girl and protect her because by nature I'm just a protector and I look out for everybody. And so I was trying to be a good daughter, but looking back, it was not the good thing to do because if she could have whooped me with a belt, she would have. So yeah.
Wow. Thank y'all so much for sharing that. For those caregivers that are listening, know that you are needed. You are super important in this journey. And I know it may get challenging as caregivers. But continue pushing. Lauren, I wanted to come to you real quick with a question. Oh, Devin, you had something you want to add. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and for anybody that's listening, for cancer survivors and warriors and the people that are around them, for people that are going through it, it is so important to say what you need. And sometimes, like as a caregiver or person that's around, sometimes you got to get over your own fear. I know I avoided dealing with.
Yeah.
And this minute, you got me a little bit. So I apologize. I'm trying to get this out before I start crying. But I avoided dealing with it because I didn't want to show the fear on my face.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I supposed to go in there and deal with this? It's for caregivers, it affects us too.
Oh yeah.
Not in the same way. But there were days I stopped. I didn't go home because I didn't know how to deal with it. And I just didn't want to show it.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are going through it, it is truly important to say, hey, I need you, and I need you to show. We all got to deal with this together, and sometimes I mean everybody in the house crying together.
Yeah,
because we're allowed to feel what we feel too.
Yes.
Everybody has their weak moments during the process.
Yeah,
there's strong points during the process. There were times where when mom was losing her hair, the job was to I gotta gas my mom up because you still fine.
Right.
But there were also times where I don't want to come out of my room.
Yeah.
So Corey, could I just say one thing to when she said about that hair loss?
Absolutely.
That was the most devastating time for me and my husband, because he looked at me and I looked at him and he said, Z, our baby really got cancer.
Mm.
And that was very, very hard. And I think that's the time that we cried. We didn't let her see us, but that's the time we cried together. When he looked at me and said, Z, our baby really has cancer.
Yeah.
That was really devastating.
Yeah, and I see your hand, Pastor Renee. But before you hop in, I did want to pull Pastor Allen in really quickly.
Yeah.
Devin,
it's a story about him, so that's perfect.
Okay, so Devin touched on something, and I want to hear from you as a caregiver that's a spouse, because I think on this call right now, I think you are the only spouse that was a caregiver as well. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you knew you had to do, and what were some of the things that you felt as she was going through that process?
Yeah, receiving the word about cancer, that's devastating to anybody. But when I received the news, I got to tell you, I got mad. I got mad because I felt I was being bullied on. I was being bullied as a child, so I always hate bullies. But I got personally offended. I got personally offended, and I got mad, and so I'm a former Marine, so I jumped into action, believing in God in the one hand, and then on the other hand, doing everything personally I can do to get my wife healed. And so it was just a decision. It was like somebody turned on the light switch. Okay, what are we going to do? Who are we going to talk to? Like Miss Lauren, getting reliable sources. I think we got two or three. We went through about two or three doctors, but we were fighting, and I was personally mad because I said the devil has picked on the wrong family, and I did everything personally to minister to my wife. I was changing fluids, and we was going to the bathroom, getting her food. I was looking at stuff like, what is this? But because I wanted to, I had to do physically everything I can do to get her well, and God was going to do everything He was going to do to heal her, because with all things, God, with all things are possible with God.
Yeah.
And so after I've done all I can, God was going to do all He could, and He did to heal my wife. So I got personally involved with it all the way. I was all the way in it, changing stuff and changing bandages and bringing food. And I can't cook, but I brought her the best takeout food I could get.
You can order a mean meal.
Yeah, I ordered. I was on the top of the line, top shelf. But I was all the way in. I was personally offended. I was personally offended at the enemy about the news. But through it all, God carried us. God led us, and we got all the consultation and all the wisdom that we could get to get her well, because we got too much to do. We have, our future is bright. We got grandkids yet to be born, and
one day,
yeah. And so it was, to me, I took it on as a challenge. I'm like, nah, we getting through this, and we got all the healing scriptures. With long life, He will satisfy me. Yes, we receive that in Jesus' name.
And I just wanted to share that real quick story, Miss Lauren. I'm sorry, no, you took the names down, so I can't see. But
Miss Lauren.
Yeah, okay. So no, Miss Zila, Miss Barnes.
Yeah.
Yes, you shared about the hair loss, and I just wanted to share that real quick because that was a major thing that happened. Very, very traumatic. Going to the salon, I decided to just get my hair cut because I was in my second chemo, and it was already starting to come out. I could just brush it and I could just see it coming out. So I was like, I'm just going to go to the salon and get it cut real low. And that way I won't have that traumatic thing of just like bunches coming out of my hand. And went to the salon. And as soon as that water hit my hair instantly just matted up, just knotted up instantly. Whereas she was trying to detangle it, it was just coming out from the root, just coming out. So I went there with a head full of hair, and I left there totally bald. And it was so traumatic because I wasn't expecting that to happen. And literally, I mean, just bald, no hair, bald, like that. And what happened was, I'm telling you, I called my husband. I was like bawling, because I wasn't expecting that. And he said, just come home, and got home. When I came through the garage into my den, my husband and my son, Nicholas, who also was, low hair, they met me at the door. And they both stood on both sides of me, and they said, we look alike. We are like the Three Musketeers. Let's take a picture. And we literally, and I just, and the tears just began to just stop because they surrounded me on both sides, and we literally looked like three brothers because I didn't have no hair. But they supported me in the fact that, I had no hair, and we took that picture, and it was the best picture ever, just seeing that. And from that day on, I didn't shed not one more tear because I felt like, they had me. And the sad thing about it is that I lost the picture. Got a new phone. You know how you get a new phone and then you transfer, and the picture did not transfer. And so I don't have that picture, but I wish to God I still had that picture to show all three of us, and they're hugging me and I'm in the middle, and it was just the best thing. So I wanted to just share that.
Yeah. And Mommy, I know you want to tap in on that. I saw your hand come up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk about that hair loss thing because that was the thing. That was the thing that when they told me I had to take chemo, I was like, "Am I gonna lose my hair?" He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna lose your hair." But when I got in there, I was so confident in my faith in God. I said, "I asked God not to take my hair. My hair is not coming out." I told the nurses that, and they said, "Miss Moore, your hair is gonna come out." And I'm like, "No, it is not." Well, tell y'all God has a sense of humor because it came out, but I had a couple of little sprigs that when I went, when I rode in my car and the sunroof was open, the little sprigs would just move around. But but what was funny was I ended up picking out a wig because they give you your first wig. And I found this little pixie cut. It was really cute. The color was cute. It matched my hair color pretty well. And they said, "Okay, Miss Moore, we'll order it for you. Just tell us the style name." Y'all know what the style name was? It was called Faith. So every morning when I put my wig on, I was putting on Faith. But I just want to show you all, Micaiah, that bond that Micaiah talked about. We actually took a photo shoot with our baldness, so that and it ended up being a story in the Tallahassee Democrat and all that. So God has a plan bigger than what we know. We look at the circumstances, but he knows the full picture. And even this has come out of that journey through cancer. Your testimony, Zelly, has come out of your cancer experience. Renee, your testimony has come from your breast cancer experience. All of even the experiences of the caregivers, you are learning something and growing, and you can minister to somebody else because they're going through it. Fashioned Inspirations was formed because I truly believe that every experience that we go through in life is fashioning us to be an inspiration for somebody else. So be a fashioned inspiration.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. And as they say in Clubhouse, and I'm done speaking.
And I'm done speaking.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, snap fingers. That's so great. Lauren, I want to come back to you. And I'm just giving you the heads up, Pastor Renee. You'll be after she answers this question. Lauren, so you talked earlier about helping patients to accept the diagnosis, but you also talked about having this hope, having this faith. Can you talk to us about what are some of the ways that you help patients and their families to have this balance of accepting what's happening here? Because Mommy, that was a perfect segue to my question. I had written it down, how you talked about, you went in there, you said, my hair not falling out, but accepting the diagnosis while also increasing your faith. Can you talk to us about
Sure. That's a great question because they are not mutually exclusive. You can accept, we call it radical acceptance because it is very, very hard to accept something as difficult as a cancer diagnosis. And nobody wants to accept something that they reject, that we don't think is a part of who we are. And it goes against how we see our world. And so acceptance does not mean I like this. It doesn't mean I'm so glad I have this. It doesn't mean I give in to this. It means I accept what the present reality is. And so when you accept the present reality, then you can let go of the energy that you were using to fight it, to put toward finding purpose and finding hope. And if many of y'all, both the caregivers, I want to acknowledge Devin too, for the emotion that you have around this is so incredibly powerful and so real and so necessary. Because when you begin to accept that it's hard for me to see my mom this way. It's hard for me to accept that this might be worse than I imagine. And beginning to have that and realizing you can tolerate believe or having a thought that it could get bad. And Pamela, when you said, I don't want my hair to fall out, but you can tolerate what might have been at that time the worst thought of what can I experience? Because again, our minds and our bodies can begin to tolerate what we thought was unacceptable to us. And with that tolerance comes that strength and that ability to say, oh, I can move through this. I can live another day. I can find the strength. I can move toward healing. And so acceptance in many ways allows you to have the energy that it takes to find purpose and hope. But having an outlook that says, I have a birthday coming up. My daughter has these things coming up. I have grandchildren on the way. Or my husband wants me to be here for this reason. Even sometimes if it's not your own internal purpose, if it's looking forward to something else that's important to the people that you care about, that can give you the next marker, the next milestone, so that you can continue to have the strength that sometimes the treatments take away from you, because physically you don't have the strength. Emotionally and mentally, that's where that comes in. When physically you say, I can't do any more of this. And sometimes that's where a caregiver showing up to say, I got this for you then. I've got this. You don't have to have the strength anymore. I'll take it from here for today. And that's where y'all step up and you can just be there with them to say, I see you, I love you, and I'm here with you no matter what it brings. And that's where that faith and that hope can bring you to the next step and the next day, until now you're 3 years post-cancer or 12 years post-cancer, and it's a wonderful outlook.
That is great, and this is another perfect segue. I haven't talked much about my role, but being Pamela's daughter, one of the things that helped me was music. Playing worship music helped to calm those fears in me, helped to give me a sense of peace, helped to give me a sense of strength, to help to give her some strength. So we're going to hear from an amazing world renowned artist, my worship pastor, Renee Pullum, along with her husband, Alan Pullum. You all please give them your love and don't go anywhere. I have a couple of additional questions that I'm going to ask after she's done.
Awesome. I wanted to just thank everyone for sharing your stories. And but I really want to just encourage Zeli, because I know you're still walking in this. And I just remember, like Sequoia said, I just remember going through and being at home by myself, and everybody had to go back to work, and those chemo days were tough. And but just being there by myself in the house. But you know what? That was the greatest moment of my personal worship with the Lord, and because it was just me and him, me talking, him talking, me singing, and him singing back over me. And so worship just increased in my life, because of that time with the Lord. And so I just wanted to just declare this song over everyone, but especially over Zeli. Zeli, I just want to encourage you that Jesus loves you so much, and you are special to him. And he's, like your mom said, he's got you. He's got you. All things have passed away. Your love has stayed the same. Your constant grace remains the cornerstone. Things that we thought were dead are breathing in life again. You caused your sun to shine on darkest night. all that you've done, we will pour out. Our love, this will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. Oh, you are the one our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Our hearts adore. So we sing our affection, our devotion, poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion, poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion, poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, my devotion, poured out on the feet of Jesus. We love you, we love you. Oh, how we love you, Lord. You've been with us through it all. You are the one our hearts adore. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, we love you with all our hearts, God. Oh, how we love you. Oh, you are the one our hearts adore. Yes. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Oh, yes. Our hearts adore. Oh. Amen.
Amen.
Wow. Yes.
Thank you. To God be the glory.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Pastor Renee and Pastor Allen, for sharing your beautiful, beautiful gift with us and some encouragement through song. So it's yeah, that was good. That was really good. As they say, I felt that in my shando. Uh, before we head out, I did want to give an opportunity for each one of you, at those that are on here as caregivers and those that are on here as survivors, those that are on here as conquerors, and those that are on here, from the mental health perspective, to give one encouraging final thought before we close out. And I'm going to start with our caregivers first, and then I'll go to our survivors and conquerors. So give us one, those that are listening, one encouraging final thought. Encourage another caregiver with one thing. So I'm going to come to Micaiah. I'm going to come to you first. Then I'll go to Jonathan, Miss Barnes, and Devin.
This is one thing that we are encouraging to other caregivers
Yep.
to do. Okay.
Encouraging other people, other caregivers with.
I would definitely encourage you to be vocal and communicate. that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but as my sister shared, there are things that can be expressed both ways. And for me, I know that I could have done a better job of expressing, and my sisters probably can relate as well, expressing that this was something that was difficult for us as well as her. But I think even in that expression, it would have probably helped her to understand that we're in this together. We're in the fight together. So that would be my first encouragement, to just be open. Of course, be sensitive, but be open, and keep that line of communication open. And number two, um, in being open and communicating, be sensitive and try to anticipate what your loved one may be feeling. Try to anticipate what they may need um, at the time, and give as much as you can. Give as much as you can of what they need.
Thank you, Mickey. Jonathan, what's one encouraging thing you want to leave the folks with?
So Mickey took the words out of my mouth with emotional availability. I believe that you really have to open yourself up, um, to allow the cancer conqueror to see your emotions as well. And then for me, it's really being that fighter for them. Again, like a lot of times, when somebody is dealing with cancer, from my experience, you have your difficult days. And when those days do come, that's when your fighter, which I say that I am, for my mom, you come in and you do everything that you need to do to uplift her spirit. It may be different each and every day. Maybe one day it's taking her or whomever your cancer conqueror is out to get something to eat because they've been in the house for a little while. Maybe it's just randomly getting flowers. Maybe it's randomly just spending time talking to them, letting them vent. But it's really when something is going on, don't wait. Be that fighter to say, I'm not gonna allow my person to stay in this predicament, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to pull them out. So that's my perspective. That's my
Good.
opinion.
Yeah. Thank you. Ms. Barnes.
I would just like to say that as caregivers, we need to show love. If you show love, the love of God, the love of parent, the love of child, the love of whomever, spouse, when you show that true love of God and ask God to show that love through you, then your cancer person knows that you're in their corner. And that's what I tried to do. I tried to show my child that I loved her. I tried to show my nephew that I loved him. And I asked God to show that love through me. His love through me.
Yes. Yes. My shirt says all love, no breaks.
Yes.
Love
Love
always. Yes.
always.
Um, Devin, I'm coming to you, and then Pastor Allen, I want to come to you also on this one.
I don't know that I'm going to say anything different than what's already been said, but being intentional about showing up, even when you feel like you don't have the strength to do it. You probably got more strength than they do, physically, mentally, emotionally. Just showing up.
Be intentional about showing up. Thank you, D. Pastor Allen, one encouraging thing you want to leave with the caregivers that are listening today?
Oh, I think just being the hands and feet of Jesus to the to your loved one, being the hands and feet of Jesus, that'll pretty much cover everything that you need. Everything that everybody has said is great, and I guess I can just sum it up as just being the hands and feet of Jesus, being available, and I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you so much. Gail and Lauren, I want to come to you all with one final thought. Encouragement could be a piece of information as well that you want to leave with those listening. Gail, I'll come to you first, and then Lauren.
Well, this certainly did touch a place that I didn't know it was going to. So, Lauren, I might need to make an appointment. I might need a little counseling, because in my journey, and you said one little thing, but like I said, this is touch of Devin. You have wrecked me. I had to be strong in my medical career, and when my mother got sick, people expected more out of me than I had to give. And we're taught in the medical field to kind of put a distance so you can see some of the most catastrophic things known to man, and it seems as though it doesn't affect you. But I didn't know what to do with that personal thing. Mm-hmm. So I still got to work through some things. So the main thing I want to really leave with the caregiver is to make sure you take care of you.
Yes.
Because when you get so involved in caregiving, and you put all of the attention on the person, you forget you let yourself go lacking a lot of times. And because you become so functional in it, you don't recognize it. So make sure you get rest.
Thank you so much. And Lauren.
Yeah. Gail, you really stressed one big word, and that's rest. And what I would add to that is to also know your strengths and know your limits. If you're good at, let's say, going to appointments and taking notes and, being able to communicate with the other members of the family, great. But if it's hard for you to be the one that's at bedside doing the IVs or changing the dressings, then that's not what you need to be doing. You can call on others to step in, and having your own support team in that way is so critical, because caregivers, they aren't superhuman, and they need as much care as the person they're doing their best to help heal. So when you know your strengths and you know your limits, and you can call on others to be part of that team for you and for the person who is doing their best to get through this, that's a powerful group of people, along with your faith. And then the final thing I would encourage all of you, whether you're the person who's giving the care or the person who's receiving the care, is to let go of the small stuff. Just let it go. So somebody cuts you off in traffic. Okay. Somebody cut you off in traffic. So you got the wrong groceries at the grocery store. Instacart brought the wrong stuff. Oh, sorry. Okay. They did. So now you get to eat chips instead of gluten-free, rice cakes. Okay. So just let go of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Focus on the fact that y'all are both in this together, and you have today to celebrate.
Yes. A good thing to always do is to look at that cup half full, but you gotta leave.
Yeah. The one thing that you said earlier that I'm going to take with me, Lauren, is that you talked about, if I am spending my energy focusing on this particular thing, it's taking away from me being able to focus on this particular thing. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And then Zeli, Pastor Renee, and finally you, Mommy, I want you all to speak to those that are on here that will also watch the cancer survivors, the cancer conquerors. Give them one piece of encouragement. I'm going to start with you, Zeli, and then again, Pastor Renee, and then Mommy.
Stay positive. And how do you stay positive? Praying without ceasing. You have to have a prayer life as you go through this journey. I don't know where I would be if I didn't know God, and if I didn't stay on my knees as I went through, every day, because you go through so many emotions as you go through this journey. So you have to stay positive. And how do you do that? You have to pray without ceasing.
Nuggets.
Yeah.
Word to the wise is sufficient enough. Go ahead, Pastor Renee.
Everything everyone has said has just been amazing and phenomenal. I would also just add, It's okay to accept the help. It's okay to accept the help that people want to offer. Let them help, let them come in, let them bring you meals, let them, come sit with you. A lot of times we don't want to bother people, but people really want to be there for you. So accept the help, accept the ride. That was the big thing for me. One day I didn't have a ride to chemo, and my neighbor had told me over and over, if you ever need anything, just call me. And I ended up was like, oh, I gotta call her, because I needed a ride. Everyone was at work. She was there instantly, picked me up, took me, and said, if you need me to come back and get you, I'll be back to get you. But accept the help. People want to be there. They want to support and just help you along this journey, because it's a journey, but it's not life. It's not the rest of your life. You're gonna come out on the other side, and you're gonna come out stronger. So that would be my encouragement.
Thank you so much. And finally, Mommy.
Hi, and Renee, that was an excellent segue to what I wanted to say. There is life after breast cancer. And just know that you're not alone. Release the expectations of others, and know that though everyone has to deal with this in their own way, we don't all deal with it the same. But know that those who love you and want to see you come through this. And I want you to know that there is a warrior inside of you, and you can fight this. So be encouraged.
Yes.
Awesome. Listen, you all, thank you for allowing me a few moments to ask y'all some questions and to dig a little bit into your lives and into your stories. This has been an amazing panel. Those that have tapped in with us on the conversation on the different platforms, thank you so much for joining in. I know, I won't say that I hope, but I know that you were able to glean something from this conversation that you can take with you for your family, whether it be your situation or someone else's that you know. We will continue praying for all of you that are still going through your journey as caregivers, as well as the ones with the diagnosis. I appreciate you all so much for your time, for your energy, for your faith, your courage, just for being all around just dope people. So thank y'all so much. We appreciate you. Mommy, if you have anything that you want to close us out with, it's all yours.
Unmute.
Yeah.
I always forget that. I want to say thank you so much to all of our panelists. You all were absolutely awesome, and you said much more than I could have ever imagined would have come out in this broadcast. And I know that there have been a lot of people who have been helped, who've been encouraged, who've been inspired to go on when they might have been thinking about, I can't do this. But now they see 3 survivors, they see several family members, they see someone who helped people get through these things medically and emotionally, that have said, you can do this, you are able to do this. I see you have I want to point out that we have the ticker running across there. Our website for Fashion Inspirations, which is the host organization for this panel discussion, is Fashioned Inspirations, and we can be found at fashionedinspirations.com. If you would like to get more information, or if you would like to share your story or anything that you would like to share with us, please feel free to touch bases with us there. I also want to let you know that we have a Monday motivational moment that we do on this coming Monday is the last Monday that we'll be doing this for the month of breast cancer awareness on our same Fashioned Inspirations page or on our YouTube channel. It takes place at 7 o'clock, same platform here, Facebook and YouTube. Tomorrow, the featured guests will be Arnett and Pamela Moore. And we're going to share a little bit more about our experience and some of the things that, because of the cancer journey, the things that have been birthed from us, the things that have come out as a result of our experience. And I believe that that's something that is crucial to understand, that when you go through a breast cancer journey, purpose becomes more defined. There, you get it together real quick because you realize that your mortality it's been brought to your forefront. So please join us for those Monday motivational moments. And the other thing is, I just want to say thank you to our audience. Thank you so much. I know that we had a group of women that were joining us for the panel discussion today. The women's ministry at Priestly Praise Ministries was joined us as a group. So I just want to give a shout out to them and say thank you so much for joining us. First Lady Priscilla Lyons for coordinating it for us. I truly appreciate it. And our time has been well spent. I won't hold you any longer. Audience, I'm going to end the broadcast shortly, and I'll ask our panelists to remain on just a moment. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.